Good afternoon, everyone. Salamat datang mabuhay. I'm Jen Lorenzo, your host number 2 for today with my co-host.
Ana Poruelo. Hi, I'm Ana Poruelo. A pleasant good afternoon to all viewers in the Philippines and overseas. Welcome to the third day of Ugnayan, IncluTalks webinar on disability awareness. Let us begin our webinar with the prayer followed by the national anthems of the Republic of Singapore and Republic of the Philippines.
Let us bow our head and put ourselves in the holiness of God the Father, the Son and the Holy Spirit. Dear Almighty and ever-loving God, we glorify and thank Thee your name. You have showered us with so much blessings, and your presence continuously remind us of your faithfulness and guidance. With this may we humbly ask you to shower our speakers today of your greatest inspiration, so that they may share the most of their knowledge, heart and soul to their respective topics. May we also absorb the invaluable knowledge experiences and put it into practice what we may learn today. We pray that you bless all the committees in charge, that they may be able to fulfill their task responsibly, that the objectives they have set may all be achieved. Your infinite blessing would mean the success of this seminar. May we be a living witnesses of your genuine love, through the enactment of the knowledge acquired through this activity. We ask this in the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. Amen.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas. Kayang makiling, pero sa sinakalan, alam ng puso, sa dikit mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, kuya ka ng magiting, sa manlulupin, di ka pasisigil, sa nagatang tutok sa simoy at sa langit mong pagkaw, ay hinatang tulad, awit sa pagkayang minamahal. Ang isang ng matawad mo'y tagumpay na nagtitindig, ang bituin at araw niya kailan ang may magtitindig. Luman ang araw ng walang pagsinta, buhay langit sa piling mo. Ang higaya ng pagkay mga amin, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Good afternoon, everyone. Salamat datang mabuhay. I'm Anna, and I'm your host for today with my co-host.
Good afternoon once again, everyone. I'm Jen Lorenzo, your co-host for this webinar. Salamat datang mabuhay. We are in the third day of Ugnayan IncluTalks webinar on disability awareness.
For the short introduction, our speakers for webinar are Ms. Jyoti Rahedran and Dr. Melanie Kathleen Alejandro. Our topic for this webinar is importance of education on students with disabilities. Am I right, buddy?
Absolutely right, buddy. As host for today, aside from introducing the speakers, we need to share a little information about inclusive education. By the way, we would like to thank Philippine Registry of Interpreters for the Deaf for assisting us for our deaf and hard hearing viewers. Thank you.
I agree. In fact, Ugnayan IncluTalks webinar on disability awareness is the third official webinar series of Hands in Inclusion, Filipinas this year. This is one of the major agenda to fulfill this vision and the inclusion of persons with disability, wherein the speakers discuss their stories of success and reasons for PWD inclusions, as well as other related information. It is the first time that a webinar will contain their 4 episodes.
So true. In addition to that, ugnayan in Filipino literally means connection to other people. For this webinar, we will discuss what is the significance of PWD advocacy in our body. We'll listen and interact with what the significance of PWD advocacy is, all about and how we educate our viewers on Facebook Live.
In recap, for the first time in history, there are 4 episodes in our webinar. The previous episodes for this webinar are Disability Rights last July 9, led by Forster Mona La Victoria Bisperas and Mr. Honiro Pradejas, followed recently about inclusion in the society last July 16, led by Ms. Raquel Sara Castro and Mr. Arturo Cunanan. Of course, as we said earlier today is day 3 of this webinar about the importance of education on students with disabilities. And next week, we will be discussing the true stories of inclusion.
Of course, for those people who are busy these hours, don't worry. We will be uploading this episode at Hands in Inclusion Filipinas YouTube channel or watch it on our Facebook page. Is that will be okay?
All right, before we start, we will rewind the video highlights for day 2 of our webinar series.
So, ako ay social media expert for 23 Facebook pages. So, I handle the social media. So, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. So, din ako ng Silas Data Manila. And then, data practice sila. And then, ako ay virtual assistant for lawyers. And then business owners. And again, an international certification for dashboard specialist. And then MSIT din ako. Okay. So, meron tayong dalawang philosophy. Isang dependent at saka isang consumer o customer. So, technology is for everyone. Next slide. And technology is for all. Ayan. So, we at the DICT, we encourage distant learning. So, pwede tayong mag-gain ng mga skills through digital .ph. So, it's technical training for freelancers all over the country. So, pakilike na lang po yung page ng digital .ph. And then, meron din tayong rice program. Yung rice program, sa may baka naman siya. So, on-site siya before. And then yung pandemic, so nag-online sila. And, ayun. So, internet and broadband for persons with disabilities. So, we at the DICT have this kind of program for all. So, free Wi-Fi siya for all. Yeah. So, access points for persons with disabilities in disadvantaged communities. So, meron tayong tech for ed centers all over the country. And, ang kapartner nito ay ang LGU. So, benefits na tayo ng ICT. So, ano ba yung mga benefits ng information and communication technology sa ating mga persons with disabilities? Next slide. Okay, so, meron tayong accessible yung pag-skills, pag-upskill natin, yung enable us to further our education. Kasi, I believe that through education, persons with disability will be empowered, diba? And ICT will help them to have that accessibility. So, sabi nga dun sa day one, na madami tayong laws na magaganda. Pero, dun tayo sa implementation, nagkakatalo. Okay. ICT can be for capacity building and empowerment. So, dun tayo sa empowerment model. Hindi tayo babalik sa charity model. Kasi, when you see charity model, hingi ka lang ng hingi. And ICT can help us to scale up. Diba? So, technology, take advantage of it kasi it can help you achieve your goals more. And ayun, so okay, so ICT is plays a significant part in terms of choice and opportunity for persons with disabilities in bridging the gap na meron akong disability. Pero, hindi alam yung nakakapigil sa akin. Diba? So, ICT offers the old and young to have the opportunity to overcome social barriers. So ICT plays a significant role in offering self-stability, persons with disability, an increased degree of independence. Kasi dun, dun nagbabase din.
Okay. Mahirap yung sinundan ko speaker, no? Medyo ako rin inspire ako kay Ma'am Raquel, no? It was gusto ko nang wag na yata ako mag-speak, siya na lang kasi maganda yung kanyang storya, no? And it's very inspiring. Anyway, so I need to talk about the job opportunity for person with disability. But first, I want to introduce the word competency that I will be discussing later on. This is a very important word for competency. And okay. So ito muna yung mga gusto kong tanong sa mga participants or ika nga sa audience, no? Ano sa tingin nyo, what are the things that you will be consider in terms of hiring the applicant? Kung ikaw aplikante, i-hire mo. Actually, let's be specific. Kung si Ma'am Raquel ang i-interviewin mo, okay, i-hire mo ba si Ma'am Raquel and bakit? And most of you guys will actually have on this particular set yung technical skills niya, the educational background, siyempre, pinopromote ang aming eskwelahan, the attitude, no? Tsaka yung experience niya, okay? And the connections, competency. Okay? Please remember this, no? Okay. This is the word that I want you to remember. Wala yung ano, no? Competency, okay? Competency is actually the usual, no? The usual here that we have is yung KSA. Okay, si ma'am alam niyan yung knowledge, skills, and attitudes and traits. Kung gusto mo, maraming paraan. Kung ayaw mo, maraming dahilan. Competency, as I mentioned, hindi po siya skills. Okay? So, yung the technical skills, yan, pero meron tayong tinatawag na technical competency. But I want to focus more on behavioral competency. So, as I mentioned, ang competency encompasses the KSA, the traits. Okay? Ika nga, ano yung passion mo? Kasama yan dyan. So, the competency. So, ito yung definition ng competency by David Dubios, no? He is a author of talent management, and as defined here is yung key terms dito ay capacity to meet the standard. Ikaw ba ay may kakayahan para ma-meet mo yung job requirement? Yan ang importante sa recruitment. And yan ang importante those persons who are looking for employment. So sabi dito, this slide came from the civil service when they describe competency. So mapapansin nyo dito on the slide, yung sabi niya catch a lion show, no? Sabi ng pusa, leon siya. Sa thinking niya, leon siya, pero actually hindi siya leon. This is what I want you guys to remember. If you want to looking for employment or you're looking for an applicant, ito yung competency. It is a manifested behavior. Okay? It is not head knowledge. It is not an intention to do. Hindi po intention to do. Okay? Napag-isipan mo, ay, maganda, intended. Okay? Para ka sa advocacy, no? Nag-advocate ako ng person with disability pero actually wala ka namang ginagawa, no? You're not using your treasures, your time, and your talent for the advocacy. Okay? Which is actually, nakalimutan ko pa sabihin, kasi ang advocate po namin, tama si Ma'am Raquel, is empowerment. Specifically sa amin, we call it economic empowerment. And what are the 3 P's of economic empowerment? Si Ma'am, yung teacher kanina, number 1 is education. You can empower PWD to education. Okay? Ngayon, meron tayong tinatawag competency-based education na dapat ina-adapt na natin. Okay. The next is entrepreneurship. Yan, because of livelihood. Yan. Yan. Para ma-economically stable, empower ang mga person with disability, actually for other matters, for other sectors, the same thing. The last thing is employment, which is actually that is the mindset that was instilled to us as Filipino. Mahilig po kasi tayo dyan eh. Kailangan graduate ka para ganyan ka magtrabaho, no? Sorry Ma'am Raquel, no, I'm not a believer of certification, especially for technical competency. Sorry, no. competency in terms of recruitment, parati yung ganyan eh. Kaya yung mga PWD and non-PWD ay hirap na hirap, okay, kasi wala silang certification. Para sa aking mga co-HR practitioner, sometimes certification nabibili lang sa recto. The only way for us to check is the competency is to actually observe the applicant and to interview. Yun, pupunta po tayo sa datos, no? Since I'm also a data science, mahilig po ako sa datos eh. Okay. In 2009, this is a research done, okay, andyan po yung reference. Ano po ba yung attitudinal barrier towards person with disability? Sa employment to, bakit tayo, ano po ba yung hadlang sa pag-i-employ ng person with disability? And these are some of the factors that was put on the study. Number one, para sa individual, unang-una personality. Okay. Para sa sabi ni Ma'am Raquel, no? Nagbabasa ba yan? Makakarinig, nagbabasa ba yan? Nakakaintindi ba yan? Okay. One of the things there is yung loyalty, no? Bakit hindi naman maging loyal yan? Di ba? Umalis din na opisina after a year. Again, yung sinasabi ko kanina, which is experience ni Ma'am Raquel, yung social behavior. Okay. How would the cooperation and collaboration be with the person with disability sa co-workers? The second factor is cost. Okay. Yung tinatawag na proper accommodation. O kailangan ko po bang magpagawa ng specific na opisina, bumili ng ganito, bili ng ganyan, etc., etc. Would I invest more in terms of hiring a person with disability? The next is high absenteeism rate. And the reason behind that, syempre may illness. Baka pala absent yan. Baka mas maraming absent kaysa present, no? Yan. So yan yung mga nasa study. The next, sa management naman, okay, they want to find out the strategy for diversity and inclusion. Yung DI, no? Very popular ngayon yung term na yan. And again, the availability of PWD for employment. Ang problema po natin sa Pilipinas, wala tayong database for person with disability capable for employment. Okay. And the last, na pinakakatakot ng mga employer, how would a PW respond to customer?
All right, that was an amazing, really day two last time, no? What I can only comment is that it was really an inspiring day for me because, like what Miss Raquel mentioned, that the PWD, we need to see them as also a customer of the society, not just like they are only receiving. They are dependent on the society. It's not just, we should not be looking at them that way. Like what she presented during that time, she was really a living testament that a PWD, if they will be given an opportunity, if we enable them, empower them, they will be very productive and will also empower others. Like what Sir Arnulfo said, this is really important to me because he mentioned last time that disability is just a mindset. And as you can see, Miss Raquel, she was very successful despite of her limiting factor, no, in her life. But she never stopped. She never gave up. She continued to improve herself. And now we have that Raquel who inspires many people. That is my comment for day two. Okay, what about you, partner? What can you say? What are your comments or your reactions for our day two recap?
More on as adult PWD are not techie. Inclusions
Mhm.
in technology work, we are blessed and for accepting us with our special ability. And now I know the KSA, knowledge, skills, attitudes, and think big.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, partner, for that comment. So now, may I introduce our first speaker? She is a Singaporean special education teacher and these juniors in Singapore. She is also a registered behavior technician online at Autism Partnership Foundation in California. Ladies and gentlemen, salamat datang, and please give a virtual warm applause to Miss Jyoti Rajendran.
Hello, everyone. So sorry I was muted. My name is Jyoti. So I would be sharing with you on inclusive education for children with disability. So in terms of education and disability, I specialize with children, work with children who are on the autism spectrum disorder, as well as intellectual disability. I'll be referring to them as a neurodivergent and children who have reached typical developmental milestones. So they will be referred to as neurotypical children. Next slide, please. My quick background is, like I said, I'm a special education teacher. I'm a registered behavior technician. I'm also practicing it as well in behavior therapy. Next slide. I'll just jump direct into what is the importance of inclusive education. So inclusive education is bringing special needs children and neurotypical children together, giving them learning opportunities and experiences to work together and learn together. It develops and allows children to develop a sense of belonging and respect each other. This also incorporates a social learning and being able to accept a diverse range of people in the society. When we start from young, it becomes a natural environment for them to be in. Next slide, please. So in terms of school, a lot of parents have been asking, what do we do in school? What do we teach? Where do we start? So a typical curriculum contains fine motor skills, gross motor, all the skills that's listed there. Adaptive, how do they eat, cleaning themselves, using the toilet, dressing, undressing, what do they learn? Like, what do I teach them? Where do I start? So that's under cognitive. Social and emotional skills. They fall under as a social communication, emotional skills. They learn it together. And I'll just run through with how it can be done at home and in school. What are the skills teachers can use in school, the strategies, and etc. Next slide, please. So play is a big aspect of learning. It not only builds receptive language. So receptive language is when we play with children, we use our voice to talk. We talk with them. We go, this is a red car, and they learned, oh, this is a car and it's red. So this is a car. This is a red car. So it's building up the language, and they need language to then reciprocate and have this expressive language of going, this is a red car. So they're going car, red car. As well as play builds trust between parents and teachers. It's where they go, oh, learning is fun. Let's learn. While learning, they also develop social skills like taking turns, as well as this is the right way to play. And but how else can we play with friends? So developing the emotional senses and communication between playmates, teachers, friends. So communication is a very big aspect of learning, and that's how we learn. So I'll go further on with this on the next slide. So the idea is to make learning natural and fun. So these are some classroom strategies and supports we use. So you can see there's a lot of pictures. A typical classroom where we have inclusive children, special needs children, we use a visual schedule. So as you can see on the right side, there's a picture and there's a few Legos, puzzles. So it gives a typical day plan for the child. So the child looks at it and goes, okay, this is my day plan. So once they're done, they know what's next. How can you start these approaches in school is using songs like in YouTube, there's some simple songs, those kind of songs, you can get the pictures and be like, give 2 pictures and be like 2 of your favorite songs and be like, what do you want? So encourage the child to first take and give you, so the child would understand that, oh, this is the song. Okay, this is what I want. For example, open and shut. You'd be like, do you want open, shut, and or do you want 5 little speckles frogs? So take and give me. So that's how they learn how to communicate for those children who have communication difficulties. That includes nonverbal child. So once you have done that, they know this is how I pass the picture. So when I give a picture, I get what I want. So it's also a way to get children to express their wants. What we want to encourage is these children having a means to communicate with people around them, making them or giving them the support to be more independent. So using that, then the child is then taught by, okay, if you give me, you want water, there's always a set of pictures in the classroom near to them where they can give me, oh, okay, so I give the drink and the teacher lets me get a drink. I need the toilet, I can pass them the toilet picture. So this is called a picture exchange system. It's a simplified one. There is a big, there is a cost that parents can access. And the idea of it is, like I said, to support communication. Another thing that I would like to state is that for visual schedules, it's nice when you rotate. So you rotate the schedule so that the children are able to generalize, they're able to cope. There will be some days where they have meltdown. When you switch the activity, they're going, no, that's not what I want to do. So it's more of a give and take. So just switch one activity. So instead of coming to school, we're going to play with Lego. Let's change to puzzles. Likewise, this schedule, this is not a typical schedule. There's a lot of pictures. What I would encourage is using pictures that are not clip arts, real pictures. That would also encourage them to have, oh, this is the real thing. It reduces the need for them to think, what is this? So when they see a real picture, oh, that's what I'm seeing in my life. So this is my water bottle, and that's the picture of my water bottle, not a clip art of a different bottle. So that's something that I would recommend. Next slide, please. Yes, so this is a plastic board. So this is my best friend in classroom. So I have a Velcro stickers everywhere. So it's my staple. This board has a long Velcro and the other one has a, what you call a round dot Velcro. As I go through the slides, you'll see how I incorporate this in the classroom. The idea is having a board that's stable where the child can pick and give me. Because at times when you put it on the table, children do tend to push it to the floor, and then you're going to be spending time picking up. So this gives a stable board where a child also has support to hold and take. Next slide, please. Yes, one system or two systems that can be used in classroom or at home is called a timer or token system. So I will elaborate on timer system. Token can be a bit straightforward. So timer helps child to transit between two tasks. So for example, when the child has difficulty distinguishing between activity time and time to have snack. So what I do is you can use a kitchen timer or a handphone, and the time varies based on routine in the sense, time to have snack, the child is playing and does not want to have their meal. You can go, okay, I'm setting 2 minutes. When timer beeps, time to have food. So you keep toys, so you show a visual of keep toys, and then it's time to eat. So when the timer rings, so then you go, okay, timer ring, time to keep, and time to go and eat. And the same thing between activity and playtime. So playtime, keep toys, time to do work. So what I would say is this encourages, like I said, transition between activities. It can be implemented at any place. So at home, in school, or even outside. So they are playing in the beach and you want to go, time to go home. Okay, 2 minutes or 5 minutes, timer beep, you have to go home. So it gives them a sense of, okay, when this happens, I have to do this. It sets a routine. And of course, increasing and decreasing of the time depends on the task itself. So token system, as you can see, there's some smiley boards. There's different kind of tokens. I'll just brief you very quick. It's actually a very big topic. So there's 3, 5, 10 token systems accordingly. So let me just go with 3, a simple one. So you want to establish your child to have good eye contact with you. So you have token board, and you have 3 tokens, and be like, whenever the child looks at you, be like, oh, that's good looking. You know what? I like that. That's good. That's 1 token. And after the child has done gotten 3 tokens, so you want to also have to emphasize a natural setting. So do not force them to say, look at me, look at me. When they look at you, you support it. Oh, there you go. So when they've achieved 3 tokens, and you go, okay, well done. Look at it. You've done. That's very good eye contact. So what do you want to play? Do you want to Play-Doh? Okay, 2 minutes of Play-Doh. And do not overuse it. So when you use it, it's at a particular activity and then done, and then go into a natural setting. Reward versus task difficulty. So the more challenging, so the child cannot sit still for long, or your child is not sitting still when doing work. You can use the token system. I like the way you're sitting nicely. Here you go. And then you're looking at your work. There you go, another's. So it enforces a routine and also encourages support learning. So they look forward to acquiring their developmental milestone. Next slide, please. Okay, so going into curriculum, we have fine motor skills. So these are some of the fine motor skills we use in school, can be at home. So you have shape sorter, Play-Doh, threading toys. Cutting skills, I have to emphasize, please have supervision when they're using any form of knife or scissors, even maybe a plastic scissors or toy. As well as painting, I encourage water-based. It's easier to clean. It's easier to wash off. As far as for Play-Doh, there's store and homemade. So if your child or your student is someone who loves to put things in the mouth, like Play-Doh, they like the chewing, I do have a recipe on the next slide where it's homemade recipes. You could screenshot, and these are safe. So they're all home ingredients where they can, even if they happen to chew on it, it's still safe. It's just something I wanted to share with you. Next slide, please. Following fine play. So after how they learn fine motors by playing, it's to strengthen their finger strength to hold a pencil. Followed by how do they learn writing is by scribbling, by coloring, tracing. So those are the forms of lines that we start off with: horizontal, vertical, curve, zigzag, and followed by tracing shapes: circle, square, triangle, rectangle, those basic shapes. And name recognition, as you can see on the picture, that's the board I use. So that's one of my students' name. So what I would do is, first thing, another thing I have to emphasize, start with lower alphabets, because in the real world out there, most of the words that you're going to be coming across, traffic signals, any kind of documents, it's going to be in lowercase. So I advocate for lowercase recognition first, even if it's sight words. So what I would do is put out their name and then get them to match alphabet to alphabet. If the name is Ron, it's R-O-N, you match R-O-N. And it may seem like an easy task or activity to us, but for special needs and neurodivergent children, it takes a lot of skills to understand that this is an alphabet, but that's my name. And labeling their items that's on their bag, their bookshelf, their cubbies, their shoes, it emphasizes that, oh, this is my name. So that also incorporates where you go, you're calling the child Ron, and the Ron knows that, oh, that's my name. That's where also you can use the token system. So when they respond it wrong, oh, there you go, that's your name. And they go, Alice, and they don't reply to you. So the child knows that that's not my name. So after that, they learn to do free writing, which is typically we start with writing of their name. And yes, so I would, this is more fine motor skills. Can I have next slide, please? So gross motor skills, they're basically children starting to walk, run, balancing themselves, play skills in the playground, catching, ball, throwing. All of these, when done in terms of in a small group, it also encourages that turn taking and social. So it covers both social emotional aspect. They learn how to take turns, play with friends, share toys. So that's gross motor skills. There are some sensory overload that can occur during gross motor skills, which I will go through later as well on what those are and how we can work with parents, with teachers in classroom and at home when that happens. Next slide, please. Right. So adaptive, like I said, it's separated into mealtime, dressing, and keeping themselves clean. And one challenge that I think a lot of parents and teachers face is introducing new food. So that's where we come with our negotiation skills. Another thing is teaching children how to use utensils, spoon, fork. I always start with hand over hand. So having hold over the child's hand and consuming it, like this is how you eat. And I have to say, children of special needs may not learn it overnight, may not learn in one sitting. It may take months, and having patience, especially during mealtime, because it can get messy. So if you have allocated half an hour is for mealtime, what you do is that make sure you have some time, 10 minutes before and after for cleanup as well. And a big shout out to all parents is please avoid sugar and MSG. Children who consume sugar-rich food, especially autistic children, they may show signs of hyperactivity, and it's better to maintain a balanced sugar level. Same likewise for MSG, that's monosodium glutamate. It can cause overstimulation in the brain and it leads to hyperactivity. So what do we mean by hyperactivity? They are overwhelmed with senses. So the light is too bright. The fan, I can hear the fan whirling. So it just makes their senses become very sensitive, and that inhibits them from learning as well. And it does pose a challenge. And for drinks, water would be the best. So minimize soft drinks. I do not say that avoid it completely, but probably once in a while. So you would like to promote healthy eating lifestyle with them. And in classroom at home, do encourage independence. Get them to retrieve their own water bottle, like get your water bottle. So initially you go with them to get the water bottle. After that, get them to get their own water bottle, their food. So the idea of teaching in school or being at home is you want the child to be independent, give them good quality of life. You want them to grow up being able to support their own need. So also with requesting, so when they are giving, like when you're getting the water bottle, like I want water bottle. So teaching that hand sign would also encourage, for example, they want a toy and they can actually generalize it over going, I want a water bottle or a bubbles, which you're looking at. And when you're giving them a toy like bubbles, bubbles. So they get to see that, oh, this is bubbles. Kids need a lot of receptive language. So use words. That's what's gonna get that language into them. And a simple thing as inserting straw into that packet drink is a huge feat for them. It's a huge achievement. So that's also part of being able to be independent. Next slide, please. Okay, so introducing new food to children. So food, it can be made into play. Parents who are concerned that we don't want to waste food. I'm not talking about having a whole big papaya. No, it's just like a small slice. Slice it up. Let the child play, squish. Let them know that it's fun. It's not something to dread. And as one other thing is that do this away from their mealtime. So if kids are eating at the dinner table, you want this plate to be, for example, outdoor on a kitchen floor. So the child is able to distinguish between, oh, that's playtime. And when I'm on the table, it's mealtime. So it reduces the pressure of a child being able to feel that, oh, no, I have to eat the food. So distinguish between playtime and mealtime. Other than that, play actually encourages sensory exploration. They would eventually learn to, like, when they're playing, a juice will go into the mouth, and they will learn to like food. That's the ideal scenario of what we want. We also want to introduce food that eventually want them to try. Like, you don't want them to avoid food, so you don't start off with lemon. We don't want child to feel adverse of food. So what we want is food that's naturally around them. At the same time, when you introduce the food, make it a colorful container, not a plain white plate. Make it colorful, interesting, as well as incorporate various texture, color, shape, size. So what do I mean by size? You want to introduce to a child, a baby or a 1-year-old child, pureed food, not solid food. And how does the child play? So you want it to be interactive, as well as encourage parents and teachers to always have learn some first aid. It would ease pressure on you as well. Should something go wrong, you know what to do next. So make art out of those kind of food. Like you have parade, make a smiley face, draw a circle, triangle, incorporate education with food and playtime. Other than that, during play with food, make food like you want to eat yummy. That's yummy, but don't pressure them. Say, try it. No, it's about having fun. You do not want to pressurize them. Just relax, have fun with your child, have fun with your students. That's ideally what we would want to have in a food play. Otherwise, negotiation. So for older kids, when you want to negotiate, you may use one of the favorite fruit versus a fruit that you want to try. For example, mango or watermelon. So, okay, you have small chip size of watermelon and you get your favorite fruit, a slice. So that's what I mean by ratio of 1-to-1, 2-to-1, 3-to-1, 4-to-1. This is not going to happen overnight as well. It may take week, it may take months. So you would probably want to go 1-to-1. And when the child has tried it, even if it's just tasted, be like, well done, that was so brave of you. I absolutely love how brave you are. So give them the confidence. Let them know that it's really fun and you're proud of them. It's basically a kite method. You should know when to pull and push. Like, the child completely hates watermelon, change the fruit the next time. Probably let's try banana instead. And then maybe 2-3 weeks later, then introduce a bit of watermelon. If it's not watermelon fruit, probably watermelon juice. Likewise, don't force them, encourage them. Next slide, please. Right, adaptive being personal hygiene. This is where washing hands, being able to use the toilet independently, cleaning their nose when a flu is running. We would start off in school or at home is using visuals and verbal prompts. So, and you want to fade off prompts over. So a quick demo would be, bring the child to the toilet, you have the pictures and you go, okay, on the tap, get some soap, rub. So you have picture, verbal, and you demonstrate and work with them. And then you pull back. You just use your visual cards and your verbal, followed by just verbal and gesture pointing to the tap. What do you do? So making them recall. And fading it off more, probably just using a gesture or just going, wash hands. And the following one, soap. So pointing to the soap. Ultimately, you want them to be independent, like I said, being able to use the toilet. These are basic hygiene skills. Some kids may take up to a year, 2 years to learn this, but they do. It's not about giving up. It's just giving repeated exposure, and it's a routine. This is how it's done. And once you have learned routine in a particular toilet, you can change the structure a bit so that they're able to generalize. So when you bring them outside, they are able to generalize. They don't feel lost. They don't feel overwhelmed. Oh, that's wash, that's soap. So this takes time, like I said. We'll keep working on them. Next slide, please. Another adaptive skill is dressing and undressing. A quick one is taking off shoes, socks, wearing them are all skills that children will have to develop. You have to teach them packing and unpacking bags. For neurotypical children, it seems very natural. It comes natural to them. But with children with special needs, even adults with special needs, it is hard having the motion of giving the strength to zip and unzip the bag, even their jackets. You can speak to your OT, so you can switch from zip to Velcro, buttons. Buttons is one of the most difficult skill to learn. And when you want to introduce wearing shoes and socks, start off with loose. So you don't want tight fit. It's going to be a struggle. So if you're teaching a child of 3 years old, use the socks of a 7-year-old child where it's loose, it's adjustable. The idea is to build the confidence and the motion of how to wear it. So when they learn the motion, then you can go into a size that's more of their size. So that's for training at home, and having adjustable straps or shoes where the child is able to have that space to work around and learn the motion of wearing shoes. Next slide, please. So cognitive, these are aspects of cognitive learning and developmental milestones. So imitation is child, saying hi and the child says hi. So that's imitation. And action like rolling the Play-Doh, and they're rolling the Play-Doh, pasting the circle on a worksheet at this spot, and they're imitating it. Those are forms of imitation. So early concepts include matching picture to picture, functionally related objects, nursery rhymes. Those are all early concepts. When I say nursery rhymes, it might be simple as Old MacDonald had a farm, and then he had a cat, and the cat goes, fill in the blanks, meow meow. So teaching and then working with a child to remember and then sing along with you. So filling in the blanks. Sequences is picture sequencing. I'll show you some pictures. Recalling events, you can use songs for younger ones and older children. You can use stories, read a book, and then tell them to recall what happened in the story. Phonological awareness is phonics. So phonics is one of the foundation for reading words, sight words. Problem solving can be simple as puzzles, reaching out to what they want. So it may be high up in the cupboard and they come up to the parent and go and pointing. That's problem solving because they want something and they know they can ask an adult. So that is problem solving at a daily home routine. In terms of a bit more advanced would be being able to answer why and how questions in older children. Pre-math, that's recognizing numbers, 1, 2, 3, and being able to go 1 to 1. So if it's 4, they count 4 and give it to you. Typical, I think age of 6, they should be able to the developmental milestones suggest learning numbers up to 20. The next slide, please. So in class or at home, the idea is to build confidence. So for example, this is how I work with children. So you show them what's to be done. You do together with the prompts. You supervise them with prompts. And you let them do supervise and only prompt when required. And you want to encourage independence. So a quick run would be matching of colors. So you start with 1 and you say match red, and you give them the red. And then following, once they have learned to match red, you pull off, you just give the red color, and they get to match. As you're building up, and when they match, you go, well done. I like how you have looked and you matched very well. So building that confidence is going to encourage them to learn better. Once you've acquired red, you want to switch to a few colors, or just stick with red. What I would do is stick with that one color red, and I introduce a new one that's green. So when I introduce green, I always start with red, match red. I don't teach them this is green. I just have a distractor there and be like, give the red. So if they match it wrongly, just be like, oops, there is red. Can you try again? Take it out, give it to them, and be like, try again. So once you have mastered red, then I would go with, this is green. So let's match red and green, and match, and you point to it. This is red, match it here. And then you give them the green, and you match it here. Afterwards, shuffle the color. So green goes on top, red goes below. So introduce one at a time. A personal story of mine is I thought I had a child who took 9 months to match colors. So like I said, it's not going to be overnight. some children just, voila, they get it. Oh, this is how I do it. And some special needs children, it takes time. So don't lose your patience. Keep going. That's how they learn. So have patience. And one other thing is that when you increase the color, you would actually realize that their visual span increases. So they grows up to down of the worksheet. That also generalizes over when things are lost, they actually look elsewhere rather than just within a particular visual, in particular side of the table. I'm sorry. Okay, next one, please. So next slide. So cognitive. So these are some of the tasks that I work with younger children. So being able to say yes or no, I'll have cards where they're able to give me yes. So is this apple? You ideally want them to give you yes. So initially you point to yes, give me. Colors, before I start with the picture previously that I showed, I would always go with like bingo. So you can just use anything that's in the house and be like match colors. So that's how they learn concepts. Shapes, always start with a solid color, which is black. So you want them to be able to distinguish the corners, followed by introducing different colors. So one triangle can be green, another triangle will be red. So having to match triangle. Alphabets for phonics, as well as alphabet recognition. Once they have mastered recognizing 1 to 10 and counting, you can go with recognizing word form of numbers. And the brown bear, that whole sequence you see is for kids who you want them to learn sequencing. So brown bear, then comes the red bird with the song, and you can give them the cards to go sequencing. Next slide, please. Social communication and emotional skills. While doing all of the methods that I had introduced to you previously, this can be done in group as well. And being able to take turn with different type of teachers in different environment. One day it might be in school, in this particular part of the classroom, another day with another. So it's able to generalize the skills that they have learned over different situations and scenarios. Next slide. Sensory. So this is the big sensory always comes in terms of playing. This is one of the biggest challenge. We have about 8 senses, so 2, 4, 6, 8. Yeah. So what we are being taught in school is we have 5 basic senses, but in fact we have 8. So that goes with balance and coordination. When children have meltdown, it may also be because of balance and coordination. Something in the senses is very is triggering them to have a meltdown. So this is something I just wanted to share with you to tell you that there's more than 5 senses. How do we tackle this in classroom or out of home? Would be in next slide, please. Yeah. Okay. One example I have is I have a child who loves to play the trampoline, but after going on board, in 1 minute, the child has a meltdown, complete meltdown, and he or she can cry up to an hour. So initially it was a challenge, like what's wrong? And then we realized that it's probably because of the jumping motion and having some occupational therapists on board who guide through us. So these are also some of the tips that was given by our therapist. For that particular child, what worked was deep massages from shoulder. So you just press them all the way down and give a good motion of pressure. And 20 minutes, it might just a simple hug would do. Remove the child from the environment. So if trampoline is the trigger, bring the child back into the classroom and then give that massage. Let the child calm down with soothing music. So one music that works very well is cello or cello. So it has a very low frequency or even toned music. So that helps with them. So and at the same time, in my typical day in school, when the children arrive in school, there is music, a soft mellow music running. So it helps them to settle down and have, if the light is bright, reduce the brightness. It might be just that they're so overwhelmed with the amount of bright light that's shining into their eyes. And you want to remove them from loud, noisy places, give them their space. Burrito is where you roll them up in a mat. So it gives them a sense of comfort. Yes. So next slide, please. Yeah, so that was my end of presentation. One thing that I had not included is being mindful. As much as today's, it's a lot to take in today, but I want to part a message where parents and teachers also have to take care of their mental health. So practice mindfulness, as well as what we call is observe, wait, and then you listen. So you observe what the child is doing. You see what's causing that, and then you listen to them. You work with them along with them. Another one would be, like I said, mindfulness. Have some time to yourself. I do understand that it's very hard to get a break in between the child is with you the whole day. Enjoy the smallest thing, like making tea, pouring the cup hot water into the cup, mixing the coffee. Enjoy the smallest parts of your daily life, and that's what we call having a mindful practice. And thank you for giving me this opportunity to share with you. I'm very thankful to Mr. Roland, Mark, I think Jane. Yes, thank you. If you got any questions or concerns, you can always reach out. That's my email address there. You can write in. I would love to give any support that's within my means.
Terima kasih, Miss Jyoti.
Thank you.
Wait, what does it mean? Terima kasih mean? What do we mean by
Literally,
terima
in
kasih?
Bahasa Malaysia, means thank you. Your presentation is wonderful, and I've learned a lot. Thank you for educating us. And I will share this to my co-parents with child diagnosed with ASD. Thank you.
Thank you very much for giving this opportunity.
I agree with you, buddy. Thank you, Miss Jyoti. It's really a refresher for me. Yeah, because I'm also a teacher. It's very helpful. Also looking back because I also handled children with autism. So, but I gained a lot from your presentation. Just for a few minutes, what you explained, the details, I would like to bring with me when you say that we always need to encourage the students, no, especially those students with special needs, encourage them, teaching them on a simpler way, especially when you said that we need to also use the approach play, even if they are eating, so that they can also distinguish and you can introduce more food, no? Because sometimes the kids has to parents force their children to eat vegetables. That's why they don't like to eat anymore. So
Yeah.
with the kids' disability, no, this is really a big help for the parents to know that playing in a way that they are also learning is one way to teach them. Thank you so much for your time.
You're
And we
welcome.
will be going back with you later during our question and answer portion.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so Buddy, can we read the comments in our comment box here? Wait. Okay, so I will read it first. Shout out from Western Bikutan, Taguig City, from Jane Baltasar. Do you see other comments there? Okay, so I will read another. Wait. Later we will read the questions, but may I read first? Okay. So from Christian Chan, hi to Teacher Mel. And then, all right. So we don't have other comments yet. So for those questions, please wait for our question and answer portion of this webinar. Right?
By the way, we will introduce the next speaker. Most of her life, choices have been pursuing, cultivating, and expressing the undeniably passion, resulting in more than 30 years of teaching children mentoring and counseling clients of all ages. Right as it may sound, nothing gives her as much fulfillment as making a difference in lives and individuals and families.
Really back. I'm back. Sorry. Okay, she put up her own school and has been advocating inclusion in the community for many decades now. Her school, Integrated Center for the Young, is known as one of the pioneers of inclusive education in the Philippines. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a virtual warm applause to teacher Melanie Kathleen San Pedro Alejandro.
Good
And good
afternoon.
afternoon.
Thank
Good
you.
afternoon.
Thank you for that introduction. So okay, I'll just wait for my slides. Thank you. Okay, maybe move on to the next slide, please. So, very simply defined, inclusion is a belief that everyone belongs. It's a philosophy that values diversity and, as such, welcomes everyone. So, in education in particular, inclusion is the belief that all children should learn and participate together with their peers in general education classrooms amidst a culture of absolute acceptance and celebration of diversity for the benefit of all. Wow, that's really a mouthful. No? So maybe in just like in the true spirit of inclusion and individualization, let us break down the definition and simplify it. So why all children? Because education is every child's right. And simply because it's the right thing to do. As educators, we commit to helping all students, not just the promising ones, but especially those who have difficulties and are challenged. Why together with their peers? Because being with peers affords a multitude of opportunities to learn age appropriate and developmentally appropriate physical skills, cognitive skills, language skills, behavior, social skills, such as emotion regulation, conflict resolution, real life skills that will be useful and crucial in adulthood. And then, why general education classrooms? Because these are the natural settings and contexts where all these learning opportunities and interactions take place. Represents the bigger natural world where children belong, includes play areas, cafeteria, home, community, as opposed to clinical settings or resource rooms, right? So there are a myriad opportunities to interact with others, practice skills, develop talents, and to belong. Okay. Why culture of absolute acceptance? So we need to have a supportive and nurturing community of individuals who share a sense of respect, belonging, and understanding. So it should be a comfortable, accepting, safe, supportive space, regardless of physical setting. It is the inclusive culture and this particular therapeutic climate that are critical. Celebration of diversity. So everyone has something to contribute. So everyone has strengths to share. Right? And for the benefit of all, because when education is truly inclusive, it can actually benefit all learners, not only the challenged learners. The aim of inclusive education is to ensure that all students are treated fairly and get equal opportunities. So there is a fundamental commitment to support and address the individual needs of each child. Now, what are the benefits of inclusion? So why should we do it? Of course, for students with special needs, we don't, everyone knows that it's more beneficial. It offers a sense of belongingness. That's very, very important to them. Belonging to a class, to a school, to a community. It gives them equal access to learning opportunities available for regular students. It provides a welcoming and accommodating environment where they can learn and develop. And it facilitates development of friendships and other nurturing relationships, which are very, very crucial and will help sustain them later on in adult life. There will be appropriate peer role models for academic, social, and behavior skills. And it boosts their self worth. It affirms their unique strengths. and capabilities, and it increases their chances of inclusion in future environments, which is very, very important. So their inclusive education placement in childhood will prepare them for inclusion in adulthood also. So, what about for regular students? Are there benefits to inclusion? Definitely, yes. It offers early opportunities to experience and appreciate social diversity. Imagine at very young ages, children cultivate respect and unconditional positive regard for others with diverse characteristics. It develops a sense of self empowerment for the regular children because they know that they can make a difference for others and for society. It develops empathetic skills, develops meaningful friendships, and prepares the students for adult life in an inclusive society. So, what we're doing now again at this point in their lives is helping prepare them for their adult inclusive society. Okay? And also, there are greater academic outcomes. Children who are in inclusive schools do better academically. So, and all students' needs are better met. Just like what Miss Jo mentioned earlier, the picture exchange system, having a timer or a token economy. These are strategies that would also benefit regular children. So not just children with special needs. So if a teacher utilizes these strategies, all students benefit. How about for teachers and staff? Okay, what are the benefits? Oh, we have a lot. No? So it increases opportunities to experience and appreciate social diversity. It gives teachers and staff opportunities to recognize every student's unique strengths. Okay, it makes them become better at individualizing instruction. It enhances their abilities to be creative and resourceful in dealing with teaching challenges. Imagine how much better, what better skills teachers would have if they're used to teaching in an inclusive environment. It enhances accountability skills. It combats monotony. Definitely, you will not be bored. It strengthens collaborative skills because as a teacher in an inclusive setting, you have to work together with other teachers, with other specialists, and with the families also. So it definitely makes you a better teacher. What about benefits of inclusion for families? I have encountered many parents for the first time who have come to me very, very disappointed, very, very saddened because they've been turned away so many times by other schools. Other schools would say that they're not equipped, they're not trained to handle children with special needs. They don't know what to do, or plain, they just don't accept children with special needs. So imagine if there is a school that would accept these families and would welcome them. So these families would feel valued for who they are. They would feel that their specific needs are being met and that they matter. So so at the same time, it also increases parent participation and accountability because the parents and the other family members, even grandparents and nannies, siblings, they feel that they are active participants in the intervention program and that they are part of the solution, which is very important. We are empowering them. And also, we're giving them a chance for greater integration into the community because by accepting them, they're already part of the school community, which makes it easier for them to transition to the bigger community later on. So they also have access to a support system that the school can give them. Okay. What about the community? Okay. The benefits of inclusion for the community is that it promotes the civil rights of all individuals. So social values of equality, respect are promoted, thereby lessening the impact of harassment and bullying. Okay. So these are decreased. It teaches socialization, collaborative skills, it builds supportiveness, and increases the ability to appreciate diversity and inclusion on a broader level. It increases members' civic participation, employment, and enriches community life. Okay, so now that we know what the benefits are, okay, I'd like to talk to you about the requisites for successful inclusion. Because it's not simply a matter of, okay, we'll be inclusive. No, there have to be certain requirements that are met for successful inclusion. So first, there must be solid policies and procedures that are already in place. And when I say policies and procedures, we are talking about guidelines, the thrusts, what are the objectives, the approaches, what are the procedures for implementation, feedback mechanisms, even staff training. And these must all be well defined, clearly articulated, and consistently implemented by the entire school staff. Also, there must be a continuum of supports and services needed by the students and their families. These should be available already, existing already. So aside from classroom learning, services offered may range from occupational therapy, speech and language therapy, counseling, social skills training, parent support groups, provision of learning support for the students such as shadow teaching. Because without the provision of these supports and services, teachers would have a very difficult time achieving their intervention goals. So even teachers and intervention providers themselves must have a continuum of supports available to them, such as opportunities for continuing education, debriefing, support groups, recreation, burnout prevention to ensure their lengthy and wholehearted involvement in the intervention process. Now, another requirement is reduced class size. Okay? Inclusion would be extremely difficult, almost impossible, if there are too many students whose very unique needs must all be taken into account. So there must be more teaching and non-teaching staff to address the needs of a reduced number of students. Usually at the Integrated Center of the Young, we have an average of around 10 students in a class with 1 to 2 teachers. Next, we need to have genuine individualization because children with special needs vary considerably in their symptoms and in their behavior, their specific needs and abilities. Even if they have the same diagnosis, it doesn't mean that they would behave and they would have the same needs. So they need a truly individualized intervention program that considers their unique resources and strengths, their goals and targets that the child with special needs and that the family may have, and that this would affect how the intervention plan would be formulated. We can implement genuine individualization through physical accommodations. Can be as simple as adjustments to the physical structure of the classroom, maybe as simple as a strategic seat plan, where proximity to the teacher or the board is considered, or where optimization of interactions with classmates is also considered. Okay, we can individualize through instructional accommodations such as provision of appropriate and parallel instructional content, adjustments in instructional pace, the delivery of the lessons, the strategies that will be used, even the books that will be prescribed, how modifying lessons as needed, and choosing the appropriate assessment in naturalistic context that would elicit the student's best performance. We can also individualize through social accommodations. So this would entail an intentional creation of a nurturing environment. So as teachers, as school staff, we need to create opportunities for interactions and for relationships to flourish because this may not occur naturally. So we have to create opportunities. So we have to also be sensitive to the potential of certain situations that we may note that, oh, like there are a couple of children who are using the same toy. So that can be a potential for interaction already. So we facilitate that interaction for the child with special need and to interact more with the typically developing children. Now, a final requirement to all those that I've mentioned is this very important one: the conviction, the belief that children with special needs are valuable members of society and they can definitely succeed at overcoming their difficulties. Because without this conviction, without this unwavering belief, any attempt at inclusion will yield dismal results. So we have best practices that we have come up with in over 2 decades of practicing inclusion and evolving our program into what it is today. Um, these are what our findings are. Okay, so the ideal of inclusion itself is not enough to meet lasting positive outcomes. No? So we need um, to outline first who are the stakeholders who will matter for the inclusive program to work. So we have to have a systemic and well-defined framework to support our inclusive program. So for the stakeholders, we have, okay, as you can see, of the child with special needs himself, family, school staff, peers, child care specialists, and community members, okay, which I'll be tackling individually. Okay. For the child with special needs, okay, many of them, especially the older ones, they can be engaged. They can be involved in their own intervention because there's no one better than the child with special needs himself who knows about his particular difficulties. He can identify what he would like to be able to do, how he can be helped to achieve his goals. So a decent intervention program should tap the child with special needs himself as a resource and believe that he is an indispensable contributor to his own development. Okay, we can adjust this, no, depending on the age of the child, on the abilities of the child, no, as to how we can consult them and give them the chance to be active in their own intervention. Okay. When it comes to family, okay, particularly in the Philippines, parents have unfortunately remained a barely utilized source of educational support, which is for me a tragic waste of valuable resources. Because research shows that students learn and achieve more and are more active in school when their families are involved hands-on. Family members understand the needs of the child with special needs most. They can offer the most support for extended periods, for longer periods than us, right? Than other intervention providers. Family, the family has access to opportunities for teaching, rehearsing, and reinforcing skills that may not be available in other intervention contexts. And moreover, a family's level of commitment and involvement in their child's intervention will most often be unmatched. Okay, so parents and other family members do need additional training and guidance to enable them to thrive during their difficult journey. So they may also need assistance in meeting the needs of their other children. So sometimes they need to be reminded that they have to take care of themselves also and of their other children. Some of them may need help strengthening the marital relationship, finding ways to augment family income, okay, identifying, tapping, and acquiring resources, and many other areas. Okay. Another stakeholder is the school staff, okay, teaching and non-teaching staff. They exert great influence over the outcome of inclusion as they are able to create, they're able to fashion, direct, and transform the very nature and outcomes of these endeavors on a daily basis. So aside from the required skills, training, and credentials that teachers must have, research shows that among all the factors, attitudes are the single most important determinant of success in an inclusion program. As such, all teaching and non-teaching staff must have the following values, beliefs, and attitudes for inclusion to work. So, of course, there must be unconditional acceptance of the child, utter respect for the child, okay, reverence for the child's pace. We have to respect that. And then appreciation for the child's smallest accomplishments. There must be optimism, authenticity, okay, a collective mentality, okay, respect for other team members, and sense of humor. I always focus on sense of humor because what we do is very hard work. It's very taxing. There's a lot of stress. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of disappointments and frustrations. And we have to be able to sustain our energies and our efforts. So it is a sense of humor that can take us through this. So that we need to lighten up. We need to see things from a different perspective to enable us to continue doing what we do. Okay. And also, again, the belief that the child with special needs can and will overcome his difficulties and that he's an asset to the community. Okay. Also, so attitudes should be cheerful, joyful, and highly attuned to the child, as in, what a child is feeling, when a child is off, or when a child is just seems to be about to go into a tantrum. So we also must be warm, energetic, creative. We have to be very creative, imaginative, and persistent. We will not give up. We need to be flexible. Like if something doesn't work, then let's try something else. Okay. We need to be versatile, that we can take on different roles. We are not just teachers. We have to be so many different roles to these children. And we have to be confident of our capacity to serve others efficiently. Okay. We have to be open to learn from others and to try new ideas. Okay. And we will have to be willing to devote extra effort and go beyond the call of duty to meet students' needs. Okay. Now, on to a very interesting stakeholder, peers. Okay. Peers are often overlooked resource, no, in the implementation of inclusion programs. Okay. Very often, typically developing peers can provide useful information to adults about potentially effective techniques, about individual characteristics, in addition to behavioral and communication needs of their peer with special needs. And these peers can be taught to provide appropriate scaffolds to the child with special needs. They can be taught to give prompts to facilitate the development of pertinent skills. But it's very important to stress to the typically developing peers that their relationship with children with special needs does not imply a caregiving nature, nor is it one-sided. This is very important. That benefits are not experienced only by the child with special needs. It's impressed upon their peers that they are in a mutually beneficial relationship wherein one learns from the other and benefits from knowing each other. So the child with special needs is never portrayed as a victim who needs to be rescued by the more able peer. Difficulties of all children are discussed in terms of what they cannot do by themselves yet, and but what they can do with a little help from others. Okay, and how that help is anticipated to diminish in intensity as all children are expected to improve. So emphasis is placed on the strengths of each student and how these strengths can be utilized to improve the quality of life of all students and of the entire community. Okay. Of course, childcare specialists are also stakeholders. Okay. For inclusion to be effective, the assistance, involvement, and formal support of values childcare specialists are necessary. So medical professionals such as pediatricians, psychologists, psychiatrists, occupational therapists, they can all provide support in an integrated and cohesive manner. Specifically, these child care specialists can benefit from each other's expertise. They can supplement the home and the school's efforts. They can provide consultation and training to other intervention partners and make appropriate recommendations to meet the child's changing needs. So close collaboration is a must among each other, among all the intervention partners. Okay, so that's very, very important. Okay, and another stakeholder would be the community members themselves. Though they may not know it, the support of the local community is particularly important in developing countries, especially to sustain efforts on inclusion. Since becoming a productive member of the community is the end goal of inclusion, then the program must therefore utilize the larger community as one of its resources already. So home, school, community collaboration elicits community involvement and utilizes the community as the venue for instruction. So this enables the students to apply their skills functionally, giving them a fuller appreciation of their skills and providing them opportunities to generalize their skills to genuine, naturally occurring settings. So we encourage them to interact with people in supermarkets, malls, parks, restaurants, and other community places. So similar to the philosophy espoused regarding children with special needs and school readiness, it is not the child with special need who must be prepared to enter and be part of the larger community. Rather, it is the community that should be prepared and equipped to accept the child with special need with all his strengths, resources, needs, and demands. And since we are the ones immersed in the inclusion process, it is our responsibility to educate and enlighten the rest of the community. Through our efforts, the larger community and society will also enjoy the benefits of knowing and sharing their lives with individuals with special needs. Okay, so what is crucial to the success of the inclusion program is that all stakeholders must adhere to the same philosophy and have the same goals, even though the context in which they operate may be different. What's most important is the consistency and establishment of continuity among all the efforts, approaches, and strategies utilized by the various stakeholders. Now, for the inclusion program to be effective, aside from engaging all the necessary stakeholders, it must also have the following qualities. First, it must be unified. From the core philosophy of the administrator of the school to the strategies utilized by the teachers, even to the attitudes of cafeteria personnel in their interactions with students. All decisions, actions, and efforts are integrated and unified. And for this to happen, strong leadership from the school head is a must. Okay, holistic must address all aspects of a child's development. Okay, all aspects, meaning physical, cognitive, language, psychosocial, self-help, moral, spiritual, as each of these aspects is intricately interwoven with each other, and improvements or deficits in one aspect would influence and are in turn influenced by other aspects of development. Okay, mutualistic. Okay, may sounds like a fancy word, but all it means is that the stakeholders must have a symbiotic relationship, a relationship that's beneficial to everyone. Okay. Participatory involves the active participation of stakeholders, including the child with special needs, right? Many inclusion programs work for the benefit of the child, but not so much with the child as a person with agency and with the capacity to guide the direction of his own intervention and to be part of the solution. So in our model, the child with special needs is not merely a passive recipient of intervention. He is an active decision maker, an evaluator, a planner, a provider of support, and an invaluable resource. Other stakeholders, such as parents, families, and community members, also assume more participatory roles in the entire inclusion process. And then, transdisciplinary, okay, we need a transdisciplinary team and approach with the child with special needs in the midst, and educators, other school personnel, medical doctors, okay, psychologists, psychiatrists, speech and language pathologists, etc. Okay, the peers, the larger community, and the local government even, all actively supporting the child. While everyone has a different role to play, each party is equally valuable and has an irreplaceable function to fulfill. Okay. And then integrated. The approach should be integrated. It's very useful to make optimal use of learning opportunities across all aspects of a child's life. So this gives the student the chance to rehearse multiple skills simultaneously, okay, so that there's faster development and mastery of skills rather than targeting one skill at a time in specific contexts. For example, several professionals are responsible for multiple targets rather than just having one professional work on one skill while another professional works on another possibly unrelated skill. So an example of integration would be incorporating social goals within a speech and language instruction session. Okay, and of course, the program should be dynamic and flexible. The program can and will change as needed in response to changing needs, changing situations, the gains made by the child with special needs, the evolving targets. Okay. All people are dynamic beings, so our situations are constantly changing. So even disability itself has a dynamic nature. Okay, so we must be able to constantly and rigorously monitor the child's progress all throughout the process. We have to exchange feedback, evaluate, recalibrate, realign goals, discard others, etc. Okay. Now, um, in spite of knowledge of what is ideal and what are considered best practices at the moment, inclusion programs, no matter how well supported and well intentioned, are very difficult to maintain. It must be intensely personalized and tailored to meet specific needs of students at specific periods in their development. So, what may work for one child may not work for another. Additionally, what worked for one child at one time may not work for the same child at a different time. So, it's vital to have a massive storehouse of strategies and techniques and the willingness and flexibility to undertake whatever courses of action will yield the most positive outcomes. Now, as a developing country, we have very limited resources, and without government support, inclusion entails very high costs to both schools and families. In addition, inclusion programs are bound by constraints brought about by certain realities and pragmatic considerations, including restrictions on schedules of schedule of the child, schedule of the parents, inability of all intervention providers to be present during evaluation, lack of access to certain resources, work demands of parents, logistic constraints, staff availability. These are but a few of the possible reasons why the implementation of an inclusive program may not match the plan to a T. Okay. But what can be realistically expected is that all stakeholders extend their best efforts to do all they can for the good of the child. And when done properly, this is what can be expected. Everyone, please meet Rafa, 24 years old. He's very gentle and wise, very good natured and polite. He enjoys traveling, loves to go biking, sometimes with friends, sometimes alone. He drives their family car and cheerfully does errands for the family. He has a mind for business, selling jams, tocino, and other products he has learned to make in our life skills training program. He's now applying for work at our school. Oh, by the way, he has autism. And I would like to share part of his cover letter for his job application. Rafa says, I am a person with autism who is high functioning with multi acquired skills from the different programs I have undergone. If I should be given the chance and the opportunity to work, I would do my best to contribute to help students of ICY, most especially children with special needs, to reach their highest potentials. Needless to say, he is hired. We would be so fortunate to have him as part of our staff. So, to wrap up, inclusive education is not just for some children. Being included is not something that a child must be ready for. All children are at all times ready to attend inclusive schools and classrooms. Their participation is not something that must be earned. And why should all schools practice inclusion? Because everyone benefits from it, and simply because it's the right thing to do. Thank you.
Miss Melanie, that was really amazing. No? Yeah.
Thank you
Thank you,
po.
Miss Melanie. So that was really how will I say it? I am really inspired again. So what you shared to us really also reflects how Miss Raquel was able to inspire also other people. So if we will also do what you also mentioned this time, for sure in the Philippines it will be a better place for our PWDs, no? But for sure in your school, you're doing it well. So I hope other schools also will replicate that. Thank you so much for sharing. I learned a lot. What about you, Buddy? What can you say about the presentation of Miss Mel?
I have a child with ADHD and I've learned a lot.
Yeah.
Now, if you have burning questions to our speakers, please type them in the Facebook comments section.
All right. If you have comments or questions for our two speakers, you may type it in our chat box or in our Facebook comments. May I read first? Okay. All right. There is a question here for Miss Mel. Good afternoon from John Ariel Tortosa. First question for Ma'am Melanie Alejandro. Meron po bang panukalang batas tungkol sa special needs at special education para sa mga bata? Thank you po.
Actually, we have laws, and they have been in place for quite some. We have the Magna Carta. Actually, hindi ko lang masabi, no, but the specific orders are, no. But we have laws. We have enough laws. Actually, it's the implementation of the laws that needs to be improved. So, I think it's every parent's right, actually, to assert that their children with special needs have a right to be in school. They can fight. They can fight for their right. They shouldn't have to. They shouldn't have to, because schools are mandated to accommodate children with special needs. That is part of our mandate. But unfortunately, the reality is sometimes we have to assert our rights. Yan. So hindi nagkukulang sa laws. We have enough, actually.
Right. Thank you, Miss Mel. We will just ask you again to answer some questions later. As Miss Abadi, Miss Anna, can you also share to our viewers what we are going to do with our commercials?
Follow-up question for Ma'am Melanie. Sa pinapanood ng ilang dokumentaryo tungkol sa batang may PWD disability, ano ang pagkakaiba, yung condition at kapansanan tulad ng isang bata or matanda?
I'm hoping that I interpreted the question correctly, no? Siguro the difference is it can go different ways. Like as an adult, diba, if a child's special needs are not addressed, the disabilities and the challenges might worsen. Okay, especially if the child growing up has learned maladaptive behaviors and responses, no. But also, differently, it can go the other way, where an adult would already would have learned how to manage, let's say, manage certain behaviors or control certain impulses that would make his disability less evident. No? So it can go both ways. I think maybe if there was a more specific, let's say, disorder, or and that you could outline, maybe I could answer better. But I hope I answered it. But it's very crucial that intervention be given very early on. If intervention is given when the child is still very young, the possibilities, the potential for improvement, for recovery, or for overcoming challenges is really, really huge. So that's very important.
Yeah, thank you, Miss Mel. Yeah, it's very important to be started when they're still young. All right. Thank you so much for that answer. So for sure, you still have more questions. But before that, may we show you, represent to you our commercials. Let's give a break for Miss Mel and Miss Jyoti first. Then later, we will have our question and answer portion. So can right, we are back again. Welcome back to our Ugnayan webinar day 3. So we will do the question and answer portion for Miss Jyoti and Miss Mel. So may I have again the question here, right, for Miss Jyoti. Okay, for
Yes, I
Miss
believe.
Jyoti,
Mhm.
all right.
Sorry, yes,
Okay,
you mean.
partner, here. Yeah, wait. You may read now the question, and I will be the one to read it.
Yeah.
For Miss Jyoti, I think there's one question here for Miss Jyoti.
Okay, so how old should a child be checked by a doctor to know if he has special needs? What happens? Typically, when you bring the child to a doctor, they are checked for special needs at the months of 18. So that's about 1.5 years. And again, at about 30 months old, that's about 2.5 years old. So that's when the doctor would diagnose the child if or he has special needs. For children who have been diagnosed later at the age of 6, so these children might be presenting their autism or their special needs at a very mild manner. They would be advised by the doctor to get into special education, schools that specialize in inclusive education. For more severe autism, they would recommend shadow teachers. Yeah, so that's how it works.
All right, very well said, Miss Jyoti. I hope the one who asked this question helped, right? Okay, there's another question. But before I will read the other question, let me read first the comments. Says Anna May Ramirez, so proud of Rafa. Congratulations, Teacher Melanie. This one, Mark Loreto. I like that. It stress how important to build the whole community's stakeholders awareness of the beneficial aspect of inclusion because this will yield the community's intentionality in adapting inclusion in our culture. Okay, Buddy, do you have the question for our speaker?
I have another question for both of them. If you are the education secretary, what specific plans for you have for inclusive education and set an example?
I'm sorry. If we, what may I have the question again? If we were what? Department
If
of Education.
you,
Yun
yeah,
ba?
yes po.
How? Okay.
If
May
you
I?
are the
Well,
education secretary, what specific plans do you have for inclusive education and set an example?
oh my gosh. How much time do we have? No, but I think the most important change that needs to be undertaken is we have to decongest our classrooms. In public schools, there are like 60 to 80 students in a class. There is no way we can implement an inclusive program under under those circumstances. So we have to have smaller class sizes. So if that would mean having more classrooms, more training more teachers, so that we can divide the classes so that we can implement better inclusive practices. That's ano for starters. That's one. Perhaps Miss Joe has some suggestions also. How do you do it in Singapore?
Thank you, Dr. Melanie. Currently in Singapore, that's 1 to about 40 students, so they have brought down a bit, 1 to 35 on average. But like you said, it's a big class size, and we have to bring it down to about 1 to 10, ideally 1 to 8. And it also depends on the level of special needs, how much support they need. If they are kids with greater support, you need a smaller classroom size. And likewise, training teachers. You'd be surprised how many teachers are not given the right support, and they are not given the right skills to actually conduct the class in for inclusive education, inclusive class. So that's something that I would like to highlight as well, giving that support to teachers. And that means having extra teachers on hand just in case, shadow teachers, giving them the opportunity to learn new skills. Yeah, that's for
All right.
starters as well.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Mel and Miss Jyoti. That's really a holistic approach. No, if you that's you will be very good secretary of your own country, especially Dr. Mel. I hope one day. Anyway, so for my follow-up question, for the two of you, what is inclusion for you, and how can we spread it? Obviously, Dr. Melanie Alejandro is already doing it, but you can just share it again for the sake of our Facebook
Okay.
Live viewers.
Um, for me, it's a philosophy. It's a way of life. It's a practice that manifests in everything that I do, in everything that I am. Like it cannot be compartmentalized into like it's my job, it's my career. No, it's the work that I do. But I have to live it, breathe it, and practice it every day. So all my interactions are, well, I try to be as inclusive as I can be. So by the way, inclusion in education doesn't only mean for us at Integrated Center for the Young, it's not only including those with special needs. It's also including children from underprivileged financial backgrounds. Okay, it's including children from all religious sectors. Okay, and so that's, I think that's the spirit of genuine inclusion. It's a philosophy that welcomes everyone, and everyone is celebrated. That's it.
So likewise,
Dr. Mel, what
inclusion
about
does sorry. Yeah, so inclusion doesn't just stop at special needs children. It also involves neurotypical children, teaching them that there are special needs children, how to work with them, as well as parents, bring parents into the picture, recognizing and giving them the support, having that inclusive environment, not in only in school, but at home, in public spaces, within the society and community is how we could and we should have an inclusive society. Uh, that is what inclusive education is about. It's having that inclusive lifestyle, that quality of life that everyone rightfully needs to have. It's their right. So that's what inclusive is about.
Okay, thank you very much, the speakers. And Teacher Mel, if you'll be the Education Secretary, I will share you my experience in inclusion with my child with ADHD, with the rejections and the inclusions and the achievements. And she is now incoming grade 7 in a science high school.
Yes, thank you so
Wow,
much for
you
that.
must be so proud.
Wow, congratulations, Anna. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Ms. Soti and Dr. Mel Alejandro, for that wonderful answer. I really also hope that wherever we are working, we can be an advocate of inclusion. No? Because, like what you said, we have to celebrate not just because we are the children with disability, but all has to be included in different part of the sectors in our society. Okay, so I think it's time for us to present our certificate. We are very proud to have the two very amazing women in front of us now that share their best practices. So today we will present the certificates of the appreciation to both speakers. may request both of the speaker to remain in the live video. For today's speakers, I am presenting the certificate for Miss Jyoti Rehandran. Certificate of Appreciation. This certificate is awarded to Jyoti Rehandran in grateful acknowledgement for being a steward of inclusivity by imparting valuable knowledge regarding the importance of education to students with disabilities as a guest speaker during the Hands-on Inclusion webinar titled Ugnayan, IncluTalks webinar on disability inclusion held on the 23rd of July 2022. Signed, Jane Baltasar, Overall Chairman, Roylan Marlang, Founder and President, Hansen Inclusion Philippines, and for our overall Chairman, Vincent Macuster. Thank you so much, Ms. Jyoti.
Thank you very much. It was a great honor.
All right, and of course, for Dr. Melanie Kathleen, Certificate of Appreciation. This certificate is awarded to Miss Melanie Kathleen S. Alejandro. Thank you so much po.
Thank you also. Thank you for having me today. It's my pleasure.
Okay, for now, let us call on the project manager of this webinar, Ms. Jane Baltasar, for the reminders.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for our speakers, hosts, and interpreters. Next week is the last day of Ugnayan. We will listen to the stories of former NCBA Director Mrs. Carmen Reyes Subiaga, professional podcaster Franz Joshua Merida, and my fellow certified voice artist, Mr. Ramil Junasa Haitin. They will share their life experiences about being persons with disability. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Ma'am Jane, for the reminder. Today also is a birthday celebration of the brain of the Philippine Revolution and the first Prime Minister of the Philippines, Apolinario Mabini. Let's wish him a happy birthday in heaven.
All right, we are encouraging all viewers to follow our social media accounts. It's posted there. For our Facebook and YouTube channel, Hands in Inclusion Pilipinas. For our Instagram and TikTok, Hands in Inclusion PH. For Kumu, HNI Philippines, and Twitter, HNI Pilipinas.
And next week is the last day of Ugnayan webinar. Set your alarm.
All right. All right, folks, thank you for watching this episode of Ugnayan webinar. Terima kasih banyak atas sokongan Anda. On behalf of the Hands and Inclusion Pilipinas team, thank you for your full support. I am your host, number 2, Jen Lorenzo.
And I'm Ana Paruelo, host number 1. Lahat tayo kasama sa laban. Nasa ating kamay ang inclusion. Thank you very much and may the God Almighty bless us all, Pilipinas and Singapore. God.
God bless you. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.